So I hope my screen is now visible to everyone, right? Cool. So in the last session, we have talked about, uh, we have completed system design. We also talked about Cloud 101. And then we have midway completed the how the mobile app development is done. We have talked about three kind of technologies, which is cross-platform, hybrid, and then eventually we talked about the native technologies out there. And we have stopped there before we gone into the mobile app recycle out there. Understand, in order to understand the mobile app recycle, we also need to understand how the mobile team works, how the SDLC, how the general software developers work. And we also need to have some idea of Git and GitHub. Okay, so we are going to park it for right now. In the next session, we are going to talk about Git, GitHub, what the mobile app development lifecycle is, so that you understand it well, because there are some related concepts. Today, we are going to start a new topic, which is SDLC and how to work with engineers. Can anyone tell me what is the full form of SDLC?
Software development life cycle.
Yes. So the SDLC means software development life cycle. This is a standard set of steps that every team has to go through if they want to create a software. Okay, understand, not only for software, if you take hardware products as well, this is mostly majorly the kind of step that we follow. And these are very organic, very natural steps to follow. Even if you do not know what HDLC is, if I'll ask you how to create a product, definitely, like if you have some kind of common sense, you are going to tell me the similar kind of steps. Okay, but it's important to understand SDLC, because in many interviews, people are going to ask you like, what are the exact step of an SDLC out there? Okay, because it's a standard term across the industry. Then this is going to be our agenda for today's session. First of all, we are going to talk about what are the phases of SDLC. Then we'll talk about brief of each and every phase. After that, we'll talk about Scrum. What is the Scrum method? What is the Scrum ceremony? Story estimation. So Scrum is a type of agile methodology. We are going to talk about what it is and what are the teams that are going to do it over here. And this is also like the answer of how the development team works. And then eventually we'll talk about the best practices of working with engineers. And I'll also suggest you a few kind of books to read to improve your leadership abilities when you go ahead and talk to developers or anyone for that matter into your system out there. Okay, so this is going to be the agenda for today. With that, let us go ahead and share. So tell me, how many of you know what a Scrum is? Quick yes or no in the chat. Cool. Yes. So this is the software development lifecycle. Okay. So what happens in software development lifecycle? These are the 6 phases that a product has to go through, a team has to go through in order to ship a software to the user. Okay, the phase number 1. Let me just go ahead. Yes. So first of all, I'll give you like a very brief about the steps, and then we'll talk about in detail. Okay. So the first part of the software development lifecycle is the planning phase. This is the phase in which you understand what is it that you have to develop. You'll do a lot of research in order to understand that, yes, this is the idea that we have. This is the idea that we are going to pursue. Okay. Resource planning, etc., is also going to happen in this particular phase. Once that happens, you are going to define it. Okay, so in the planning phase, you might have came across so many ideas out there. In the planning, you have to prioritize and make sure that you are going up with one idea and you are defining that idea for everyone so that everyone is on the same page. There is no ambiguity. If you are working in a business role, such as a product manager, product owner in any kind of company out there, this is your main responsibility, which is to give the clarity to the team. This is the stage that you are responsible for. Okay. Similarly, we have the design phase. In the design phase, don't only we talk about the interfaces and all, but we also talk about the system design, as in what should be the high-level system design of the product that we are going to create. Okay, because understand, if system design is wrong from the first step itself, it is very difficult to go ahead and adopt. Okay. The third part, the fourth part is going to be build. Here you have to make sure that you are able to build the solution. You are able to code the solution. Here you have to work with real developers in order to make sure that they are able to code, they are able to program, and then they are able to take it to the next phase, which is the testing phase. In the testing phase, your testers are going to take the product. They are going to use the product. They are going to do multiple tests in order to understand if it is, if in order to verify if it is working as per the expectation or not. Okay. So whatever document that you have created in the definition, they will also be available to the testers when they are testing the product in order to make sure that everything is matching. And then eventually in the end, you will deploy it. You will give it to the customer, you will deliver the product, and then your sales and marketing team will come. They will try to give it to the customers. You will measure the metrics. And then if there is something good with the product, you are going to improve the product. If there is something bad with the product, we are going to fix in the product. And then we are going to again introduce the cycle. So planning, definition, design, build, test, and deploy. A quick yes or no if you are able to understand all the steps. Cool. Please be interactive, guys. If you are understanding or not understanding, do let me know. Okay. And yes, so now we'll go ahead and maybe talk about a bit more detail of these phases. And this is also your like product management 101 sort of thing. Okay. So these are your internal stakeholders. Okay. And these are your customers, or I would say users. Okay. So these people are going to give you some kind of ideas, right? That we are facing these kind of problems. Why don't we go ahead and create the solution? These kind of things. Okay. And you are going to research from these people in order to get some ideas, right? Similarly, this person is also your internal stakeholder, such as your leadership team is going to give you some kind of objectives. Some companies will give you OKRs. Some companies will give you KPIs, some companies will give you KRAs, and these kind of objectives. They will tell you that yes, in this quarter you have to achieve this kind of thing. And based on that, you are going to do the research with the customers in order to get the ideas which you can implement in order to get that particular kind of metrics. And also there are going to be some customer facing teams such as the customer support, sales, marketing, who are also going to go ahead and give you some kind of ideas. Said, why don't we go ahead and improve the product in such a particular way? Okay, so that is going to be there. Now all of these ideas would be collected there. And also apart from this, you as a product manager, okay, or maybe there would also be a data team with you who will understand the data of the company. Okay, as these people are using your product, as these people, customers are using your product, they are creating certain kind of data such as clicks. They are completing some steps, they are not completing some steps. Okay, so this data will also be generated, okay, which is the usage data. Okay, so based on these ideas, based on these ideas, based on your own ideas, you are going to create a list of items that yes, these are all the things that we can do. Okay, these are all the ideas which are put in a bucket. And also you have to make sure now that you cannot take each and every idea because you do not have the time for the same. Okay, so as a PM, what you will do is you are going to talk to these people. You are going to talk to these people. Okay, and then you are going to understand what could be the impact of this, as in, is it like a good idea to go ahead and pursue or not? So you will do your user research. Okay, you will apply different kind of frameworks in order to understand the users well, whether they would want to do these kind of things or not. Okay, and once that happens, you are going to verify all the ideas. And once the ideas are there, okay, you have understood that yes, this idea is good. You are going to put them into something known as a product backlog. That is, these are all the things that we can do. This is going to be a long list. For some ideas, you are going to say no. So these ideas are rejected. For some ideas, you are going to say yes. So they will be here. For some ideas, you will maybe say maybe. So they will also be here, but they will be deprioritized. Okay. Once that is happening, so understand all of these, the thing that we have done right now, this is actually a part of planning. Okay. While in this particular product backlog, as you go ahead and pick the item, you have to make sure that you are giving like a right kind of structure to your team, the right clarity to your team. Okay. All of the thing that you have researched, now you have to convert it in the form of maybe a product requirement document or some document so that everyone is on the same page. Okay. This phase is actually definition. Okay. Now this will go ahead. You have another kind of internal stakeholders, which is known as the delivery team. Okay. These are the people who are developers, who are designers or other people in your team. These are going to take some of these tasks. Okay. The whole product backlog is there. They are going to take the top tasks and they are going to try to execute the same. Okay. And when they execute the same, once the feature has been developed, they will go ahead and give it to the sales and marketing team, and then the sales and marketing team will go ahead and ship it to the customers, and then customers will find some kind of issues. They will not find some kind of issues, and based on that, the cycle is going to complete. Okay. If I have to give you a glance of what product management is, this is product management. This part is known as product discovery, where you understand what to build. Okay, the strategic part. While this part is product delivery. Okay. If you talk it about in the form of a SDLC, here, whenever you are planning the product, when you are understanding all the data, you are taking feedback from so many people, you are doing the user research, market research, understanding the data. This part is, as I have told you, is known as planning. When you go ahead and define things really well for your companies, for your developers and designers, so that they can go ahead and at least take actionable steps, that is known as definition part or PRD part. Okay. After that, you are going to work with designers and developers, which is the design part and the deployment part and the development part. And after this, you are going to go ahead and deploy the product eventually with the help of sales and marketing team, and then give it to the customers. Yeah. So tell me, everyone, if you are able to understand SDLC through this diagram or not. Yes. Any questions so far from anyone?
Yes, GTM comes in the product delivery part, right? GTM department.
You are talking about APM, right?
GTM. Go to market.
GTM, yeah. So understand, GTM is not something that you only create in the end. Okay. The synthesis of the GTM has to be created right from here. Because what happens? Yes, the execution of GTM would be happening over here. Okay. Which is in the delivery part. But the synthesis of GTM should happen right from the product discovery. Because when you are creating the product, you should be knowing that whether we can reach out to the customers who are actually the customers of the product. So good product managers, good companies always think of GTM from day one. Yes. Any other question from anyone? If you have no questions, please write in the chat.
So can you explain a little bit more like, so when planning, we are thinking about how to solve the user problems, and our solution would be matching with our company's vision and goals. So how do you fit GTM into that during discovery?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Okay, so here what happens is that we are going to make sure that whenever we are prioritizing on any kind of ideas, we are also involving the other teams, which is the marketing team, which is the sales team. Even before the idea goes here in the product backlog, you have to make sure that if it's an important idea, if GTM is going to be an important part, engineering bandwidth is going to be a very important part, then you involve these teams as well, so that they can parallelly work on starting on these kind of things.
Thank you.
Vinyas has a question that what step are involved in deployment phase is it comes. Yes, deployment and delivery are same. Okay, deployment and delivery are same. Deployment is about going ahead and deploying your product to the users. Okay, creating a go-to-market strategy, creating maybe analytics plan so that you are able to create a dashboard so that everyone is able to see the data that is happening out there. Trying to understand what could be the version 2, version 3, so that you are deploying it again and again. So these are the kind of things that you will involve over here.
Ankit, what is the most important part of a PRD? What needs to be covered while writing in PRD? What needs to be taken care of?
Yes. So I think maybe we can take it. So although we are going to talk about this in detail later, but I'll talk to you about what is like a part of PRD out there. First is PRD is product requirement document. Main parts of the PRD is going to be the objective. So objective is why you are doing this. So in the objective, you should make sure that you are talking about the business outcome, as in why should the business do this, and what is the user outcome. Okay, and then you should also go ahead and define the users in detail so that everyone has the same context. Okay, then you go ahead and talk about the metrics, as in what are the metrics that you are going to track in order to understand whether it is going to be like is it a working solution or not after launching. Then you will go ahead and design the workflow. What are going to be the workflow? What is going to be the use cases for the customers? Okay, then maybe you can go ahead, and some people also include wireframe, but it is like optional. Some people include it, some people just hand it over to the designers to go ahead and do the same. Okay, and there could also be some engineering documentation. Okay, and understand it's a live document. Okay, it's not that PRD, the product managers are only going to create the PRDs. Product managers are the owners of the PRD, while engineering team, marketing team, sales team, they can also go ahead and put their part into PRD. So you will see that go-to-market plan are also attached to PRD, as in there would be a link to go-to-market strategy in the PRD itself. There could also be a sales plan attached to the PRD, and there could also be some kind of open-ended questions. But the major parts that we have seen in a PRD are mostly the objectives, the metrics, and what is going to be the exact flow of the content out there. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, just a quick follow-up question. Since we are writing PRD after the product discovery process, so do we also include what kind of research we did before? What are the problems?
Yes, correct. So for example, when you talk about this business outcome and user outcome, so how are you assured about the same? Okay, you cannot just write that this is the persona and I believe that this should happen. No, you have to write, you have to attach the right kind of research that you have done in order to ensure that yes, you have done the right thing.
Great. That's
right?
all.
Yes. Cool. So yes, so here, yeah, so one topic that Bajaj Himanshu has talked about, which is like the UAT. Okay, so UAT happens here. UAT is a term that you should be knowing about, which is user acceptance testing. Here you are testing your product with almost a real kind of users out there so that you get whether they are able to do the work or not. I'll attach some documents so that you can read more about the UAT. UAT happens between the deployment phase and the testing phase. There are two kinds of testing. One is the testing that your team is going to do. They are going to understand the product, which is working technically or not. There are so many terms that you can learn over there. And in the end, like once this testing, internal testing is done, people think that yes, it is functional and all. In order to make sure that users are also able to understand the product, you are going to do the user acceptance testing. There you can involve some kind of beta user, some kind of external user, so that they know that yes, whatever you have created is actually usable for the audience. Yes. Dhiren, you have a question?
Yes, Ankit, I know the answer, but I just want to make sure that I know the right thing. So I was seeing a few PRDs online and stuff, and certain people have something called as acceptance criteria. And I believe acceptance criteria is that, if you do this, this is what the outcome needs to be. But I don't know if I've got that right because there's no explanation around that.
I'll tell you how it works. Okay, so understand what I have written down over here, which is workflow and use cases. Okay, this could be expanded to a large extent. Okay, some people will go ahead, they will create the user workflow, as in what is going to be the user flow. Some people will go in detail, they will write the user stories over them. Okay, and for each and every user story, you can have the acceptance criteria. Okay, so it's the major term that I have written. Now everyone in their PRD, they are going to make sure that they are writing the right kind of thing.
Right. So just to understand it right, user story is basically the user would do this, and
as a user, I want this so that I can do this.
Do this. Exactly. And acceptance criteria is what the system should be doing. If that happens, it's true
yes,
or false.
So acceptance criteria is important because when the testing team is going to get involved, they are going to check the acceptance criteria, whether we should go ahead and approve this user story.
Approve. Okay.
Cool. Yes, cool. So I think everyone has understood what this is. Okay. And yes, so this was about SDLC, very commonsensical concept, but understand you have to know about the same. If you are working in any kind of business function, you should be knowing where things can get stuck. Okay, so if you understand an important part of user story of understanding SDLC as a non-tech person is that if you spend good time in planning and definition, okay, you'll have to spend less time here. Most of the time people make a mistake that they do not do right kind of planning, they do not do right kind of definition, and then they are stuck. They have created something that the users do not want, and they feel that no, whatever we have done so far is actually waste. Okay, so that is a tip for everyone. Make sure that you are putting enough time into planning and definition. What that time is, I cannot tell you, depends on the context, but you should put enough time. You should explore enough idea, look at enough data in order to go through the things out there. If you think that something is going to take a lot of time for the developers, if you think that something is going to take a lot of time for the developers and designers to create, make sure that you are doing the right kind of research. If you're not assured about your research, that is okay. But then make sure that you are converting your whole idea into some kind of a basic experiment or maybe basic kind of MVP, which is minimum viable product, so that you are testing only the important part. And once you know that, yes, this is correct, my research is going in the right direction, then you should talk about the full-fledged product. As a product manager, as someone who is working in a business team and do not know about the technical part, still you have to contribute. Make sure that you are contributing with this research part. This is very, very important. Okay, because a change, if it takes about maybe 1x of your time in planning and definition part, it is going to take 10x, 100x when it is coded and all. So your mistakes are going to get more and more costly as you go ahead in the software development lifecycle. If you can improve something right during the planning and definition phase, that is going to be best. If you try to improve it during the testing and deployment, a lot of work has already happened. It has already costed your company in terms of times and resources. So that would be the first step for everyone. Cool. Now we will go ahead and move ahead. Okay, we'll talk about what happens actually. Here we talk about this particular phase, right? Here you have given you have taken a product backlog, you have created a small backlog out of the same, and then you have given to the design team. So what exactly happens over here? Okay, so here something is going to happen, which is known as Scrum. Okay, where does Scrum come from? So initially, when people were like in the early 80s, 90s, and 20s out there, okay, people used to develop software product in a way which is known as waterfall. What is waterfall? In the waterfall, you will spend months in order to get the planning done. You will spend months in order to get the design done, then the development done, and then eventually you will release the product. That was working at that period of time because customer needs were not changing much. Okay, most of the time the software that we were creating were mainly for the government offices, or mostly for the electrical departments, or mostly for the banks. Their needs were not changing, customer needs were not changing. Okay, so that model was working. So waterfall was the model that they were implementing, and this is like the simple version of a waterfall model. In the waterfall model, same cycle is going to be there, that first you plan, then you go ahead and you maybe define things, then you design things, then you develop things, then you test things and deploy things. Okay, all of these things are going to happen, but it used to take a lot of time, and it was waterfall because it cannot go back. Okay, if you are wrong in the design phase, then you'll have to start from the beginning. You cannot just go ahead and iterate on the design phase or something else out there. And people used to see that we are wasting a lot of time, and these phases, these used to take months, if not years. Okay, and that was okay at that period of time. It was working because the software that was created, it was very much limited to the bigger organizations out there, and they were very much sure in their planning. Okay, but as the companies, as the time evolved, people understood that no, this is not working. Okay, and rather than making sure that we are only spending time into planning, definition, and all of these things out there, we should make sure that we are working on giving the incremental value to the user. We should make sure, so everyone understood that no matter how much research that you do, you are going to be mistaken. You are going to do the wrong kind of research. People are going to tell you the opinions rather than facts. So what you should do is, in order to reduce the risk, you should try to shift the value to the user as often as possible. And when you shift the user to the value to the user as often as possible, what happens? They are going to make sure that they are going to give you the feedback. Okay, so rather than asking people, would you use this product or not, give them the product. If they are using the product, that means that they have loved the product. So for that, you have to make sure that you are able to deliver the product quickly and then able to listen to their feedback very quickly. Okay, and that work of way where the teams are lean and the process is very fast, that way of working was known as agile. Okay, so agile is like a huge topic in itself. There are like almost a couple of years long courses which only talk about agile. But I'll give you this brief that agile is a way of working where you focus on incremental results. Okay, you do not go ahead and focus on the process, but you focus on making sure that yes, if the engineering team works quickly, the design team works quickly, and they are able to ship the product as soon as possible, the incremental developments as soon as possible to the users, learn from them, and then iterate. Okay, that is the agile way of working. Okay, and agile could be done in multiple ways. Okay, there is one method of agile which is known as Kanban. Okay, there is also Scrum, and there are other multiple ways as well. But for 80% of the cases out there, based on some data, 80% of the teams are using Scrum. What is Scrum? Scrum is a methodology in which companies are executing agile. They are working in an agile way. How they do their day-to-day task by accepting the methodology of agile is known as Scrum. Scrum is one of the methods through which your team can work into an agile environment. Okay, so Scrum is nothing but a way of working, a way of making sure that everyone in your company is on the same page when it comes to creating software. That is the Scrum. Okay, so how many of you have actually worked in Scrum? A quick yes or no in the chat. Yes, Badar, you have a question?
Yes, I do, Ankit. Thank you very much for your elaborate explanation. Currently, I'm founder of an early stage startup. We're a small team of 3 in tech, a front-end developer and full stack developer. We're employing Scrum using the Kanban board. However, we do not have sprints. Does that qualify us as a startup that works in an agile way?
Yes, that qualifies. So a good way to understand if you're agile or not, understand even if you do not use Scrum or Kanban, that is okay. Okay, I'm not like a concrete believer that yes, this is, you should go ahead and only implement these kind of techniques. Understand your velocity of the team. Okay, how soon is your team releasing? How soon is your team able to go ahead and take the feedback and incorporate in the next release? That is the true test of agile. Okay, so people have created, there are so many ways to go ahead and do the agile, but the main principle of agile is the same, which is make sure that you are able to quickly act on the user feedback. You are actively listening to the user feedback, and then you are quickly acting on the same. That is the real benchmark of agile. Unless and as long as you are doing this, you are working in agile. So yes, now we'll go ahead and talk about this particular part, which is Scrum. Okay, so how Scrum happens. So these are few of the parts of the Scrum. Let me go ahead and open the animation. Yes. So there could be a product owner. Okay, a product owner. In startups, this is also done by a product manager. Okay, this person is going to work on a product backlog. They are going to decide a product backlog that yes, based on the user research that we have done, based on the market research that we have done, based on the data that we have collected, based on the internal or external stakeholder talks or interviews that we have done, based on where the market is going, based on everything that we have done, we are able to do this product backlog. Okay, and we have done all the kind of priority and analysis in this product backlog. Okay, now what will happen? The team will come together. Okay, for some of the teams, this one cycle of this particular Scrum is known as a sprint. Okay, for some teams it is 1 week, for some teams it is, the range is from 1 to 4 weeks. For some team it is 1, for some team it is 2, for some teams it is 4. Most of the companies that I have worked at, the sprint is actually 2 weeks long. That is the standard size that most of the people take, but 1 to 4 is also good. Okay, if you go to bigger company, it is going to get longer and longer. Okay, but generally no company does it for more than 4 weeks long, because then you are losing the way of agile. Okay, so in this meeting, so before we start any kind of sprint, you are going to have a sprint planning meeting. In the sprint planning meeting, maybe people are going to come ahead and they are going to discuss what are the things that we can do in this particular sprint. From the product backlog, what are the things that we can pick up? Okay, understand, although it is a prioritized backlog, it is a sorted list, but what will happen that you have picked maybe 2 important items, maybe 1 or 2 fixes you will pick. They are not very important, but they are fixes. They also need to go, and maybe it will take less time. And maybe understand that the sprint is the tasks that you take in a sprint are maybe like a bucket. Okay, your sprint backlog is like a bucket, and you have filled it with bigger items. Okay, now you have space for smaller items, so you will go ahead and pick some smaller items. They might not be important, but you will pick them so that they are also getting released, maybe some kind of fixes and all. Okay, so this meeting is going to happen over here. The product manager or the product owner will put their perspective, the engineer will put their perspective, and then we are going to decide that yes, these are the things that we can develop, we can pick in this particular sprint. Okay, and the sprint is locked. Okay, now what will happen? From the product backlog, whatever item that you have picked, they are going to go into a new list, which is known as a sprint backlog. Now people will try to make sure that they are able to complete this item in this sprint. Okay, and then the sprint will start, people will start working on the same. Okay, and in this sprint, what will happen? There would be a Scrum Master. The Scrum Master could be like a different dedicated person, or it could be someone who can step up. Maybe some kind of lead developer can step up and they can become maybe a Scrum Master for that particular Scrum. They will have to do their normal work of a developer, but they also have to lead the team. They have to make sure that all the sprint practices are being followed. What are the sprint practices? The Scrum practices are, first, there has to be a daily Scrum. Every week, every day, maybe once in the morning, you people are going to meet. This team, this is maybe a 15 to 20-minute meeting. It has to be short. And in this team, everyone in this particular time, everyone is going to go ahead and they are going to share their updates. They are going to share 3 kinds of updates. The first update is what happened yesterday. What is it that they did yesterday? What is it that they are going to do today? Okay. And then the last part is any kind of blocker, which is YTB framework. Very simple. They are not going to discuss about very much all the things in detail, but they will just give an update that this I have done yesterday. This I was able to complete. This is what I'm aiming to do today. And these are the blockers that I have. So that product owner or the Scrum Master can jump in and they should be able to resolve their blockers. This is just to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Okay. After this happens, this is going to run. Okay. Then we are going to understand the time is going to get completed. Okay. You will see that, yes, we have gone ahead and created something, or maybe we have also gone ahead and tested the same. Now what will happen? The work will finish. Okay. And there is going to one more meeting that is going to happen. Okay. Which is sprint review. In a sprint review, what happens? You are going to understand what are the things that we have committed and what are the things that we are able to deliver. Okay. So you will see that whether all of these user stories that we have developed or all of the tasks that we have done, are they up to the criteria or not? Okay. And based on that, you will try to release them to the customers. Okay. The customers will get these kind of user stories. And then after this, once the sprint reviews happen, sprint review is only about what was decided and what was shipped. That's it. And then there is going to be a bigger meeting, which is known as sprint retrospective. This is a very important meeting. Understand, here, there is only one meeting that you are going to do, but this is a very important meeting, which is known as a sprint retrospective. Okay. In a sprint retrospective, what is going to happen? Let me tell you. Yes. So there is going to be one meeting after the end of this sprint, which is known as sprint retrospective. In this meeting, everyone will come together and they will try to understand what we have learned from this sprint. Because understand, every company is going to evolve when people know about themselves, when people know their mistakes, when people know about each other. Okay. And this is the place for you as a non-tech person to shine, as a product manager, as a business analyst to shine. Here you are going to make sure that you are able to do this sprint retrospective correctly. And what is a sprint retrospective? You are going to talk to people what went well, what are the things that we are able to develop, what are the things that you really like about this sprint. Okay, how the coordination was good or bad. Okay, then we'll talk about what could be the improved. Okay, what are the things that we should make sure that we are improving from the next time, what didn't do well, and what are the action points. What are the tangible action points that we should be implementing from the next sprint itself in order to make ourselves more productive. Okay. And then a tip is that don't talk personal, don't take personal. Okay. It might happen that you'll be like, your mind would think to go ahead and jump to conclusion and maybe blame people for something that has happened or not happened. Make sure that you're not doing the same. Keep it very objective to the task at hand. And eventually you will understand that as time persists, you are going to understand, you are learning more about the team, and you should be very confident in your estimations and the tasks that your company does. Okay, this is the key to good product, project, and product ownership, or like product management, project management, and also product ownership out there, and also working with the team. Okay, and this is important because of this particular fact. Okay, one question that everyone has in their mind as a non-tech person is to how should I estimate what is the kind of time that should be dedicated in a particular for a particular feature. Okay, engineer is telling something, I do not know whether it is right or not, so how you should go ahead and talk about the same. Okay, can anyone tell me here, if I have to ask you, like, how would you go ahead and estimate a time for a how much time it is going to take for a particular feature, how you are going to tackle the same? Can anyone give me an idea?
Do we use guesstimation and then add a little bit buffer after that? Like just to keep that bandwidth so that, you know, even if things goes haywire, we still have that kind of time to incorporate all of it.
Yes, that's in the correct direction. Yes. Palash, you want to add something?
The past data from the Jira or we have it that kind of dashboard.
Yes, that's more in the correct direction, which is the past data. Yes. Abhishek, you want to add something?
Yeah, I told that the past data which there in Jira, you can track your past, like how you performed the past sprint and all.
Yes, that's correct. So I'll tell you what happens is that the learning here is, Palash, you want to add something?
I was just saying that if it is a big feature, we can break the feature down into small sprint tasks, and then maybe if we have a similar feature that we have built in the past, we can use estimates from that and add some buffer if it's a new developer.
That is also correct. Okay, so I'll tell you, there are few things that you need to keep in mind when you do the estimations. Okay. Okay, there are few things. Okay, and understand this as like we are going ahead and doing like a problem solving exercise out there. Okay, the first part is we are talking about estimation. Okay, the first rule is of estimation is, as a product manager or as a product person, you are no one to estimate. Okay, estimation will not come from you. You cannot add buffers or anything because you are not going to work on the same. Okay, even if you have the technical background, you do not have the authority or ownership to go ahead and tell about the timelines. You can do some kind of benchmarking out there, but you should never make a promise in terms of timeline unless you have got the timeline from the engineer. First of all, the first rule is estimation always comes from developers. Okay. And then second part is you should understand what you can do it. You can question. Okay, you cannot maybe go ahead and talk about whether it is estimation is correct or not. You can only question, because understand most of the time developers are giving you certain kind of time because they want to save themselves or they are over ambitious. Okay, if people are over ambitious, they are going to tell you a very short period of time. You commit this time to other people and then you will find that no, they are not able to. Similarly, on the second bend of the spectrum, which happens more frequently than the first one, which is people will be afraid that if we go ahead and give them the exact time, then what will happen? Maybe they will not be, I'll not be able to do it. So I should go ahead and put a buffer, because understand, estimation is estimation. No one in this world, even if I'm creating a product for myself, I'm coding the product myself, I cannot give you the right kind of estimation. Why? Because it is not possible. That is why it is known as estimation. So understand, 100% results are never there in estimation. Okay, so what you should do is you should be able to ask the right questions. Okay, how to ask the right question, which is what Palash has told us, which is break the solution or feature into small parts. Okay, and then ask about the same. Ask them the time for individual parts. Okay, and ask them to break it down. You do not break it down for them, because understand, you might not be understanding the system. Even if you understand everything over here, which is APIs and system design and all, they might have created a system in a very unique way. Okay, so ask them to break down the task. Okay, and then time for individual parts plus time for integration. Okay, then you will see that yes, the back of the hand calculation that they have given, now it is not matching. Now they will come to a more natural real number out there. Okay, and then eventually you have to acknowledge that every team is unique. Okay, it does not matter that if one team is able to flip the same feature in 3 days, that other team will also do the same. Okay, so every team is unique. You have to understand your team dynamics. That is why you have to look at the past data. Okay, look at your Jira, look at your sprints. There is also a number one sprint velocity that we are going to talk about. And there we are going to understand how to look at the past data. Okay, and then you are going to calibrate yourself with the past data. That yes, initially it took me, for example, if I tell you that right now, if you have to go to a new place, how much time it is going to take. So your estimation would be haywire. You can go ahead and tell me, if I tell you that if you have to take like the whole circle of your house, how much time it is going to take. Right now, you cannot estimate it. Maybe you will estimate, but it would be way off. But once you go ahead and take one round, and then you take another round, then you have certain kind of calibration. And then you will see that every time you are taking the next round, it is not going to take the same time, but the calibration would be the same. It would be maybe few steps here and there, but it would be the same. Okay, so you have to work on the past data, because every team is unique. Okay, and then eventually the fourth most important part is to make sure that you are having the right kind of relationship with the engineering managers or the leaders. Okay, these are the person who are going to help you out. Okay, if you have questions that no, this should not take this much time. Okay, take them thing logically to them. Don't say that no, I do not think that whatever the developer has said is wrong, but take the problem to them. Okay, that we have estimated that this is coming around the same. Okay, are there ways to do it quickly? Because this is the reason why we want to do this quickly. Try to solve the problem together rather than blaming someone. Okay, and this should help you out. Okay, you should take a very pragmatic approach toward estimation, but in the end, you should understand the word is estimation. Estimation is, it is going to be an estimation only. You cannot go ahead and come up with the right number and 100% commit that this is going to happen. So you should also go ahead and over the buffer that developers have given you, you might also have to take some kind of buffers out there. Okay. And also be like, make sure that you are controlling your urge to give timelines as soon as possible. If business asks you that we need to go ahead and develop this feature, if the senior leadership team asks you we need to develop this feature, okay, do not give the timeline before you go ahead and give like a take a green flag from the developers out there. Most of the time, the relationship between the developers and the designers are broken or shattered because of this particular reason only. That without asking the developer, you have committed a timeline and now you are after the developers. Okay, and also estimation also depends upon what does the rest of your roadmap looks like. Okay, so it is not only that you are always going to find an engineer. So engineers will also make sure that yes, they understand what their workflow is, what the roadmap is. So they are also going to give you right kind of answers out there. So the first principle is make sure that you are asking the developer and then you can iterate on the same. Okay, now I'll introduce you a concept of sprint velocity. For every task that you pick, for every user story or a task that you pick, okay, what is going to happen? You can estimate it. That yes, maybe let us pick the very smallest task. You will ask your team that what is the smallest task that we can go ahead and do over here. They will pick that. Then you will set it as a benchmark and then we will say that yes, what is the, if this is the task and this is the task, how much time do you think that this particular task is going to take compared to the other task? Okay, so that is the comparison. We as human beings, we are very bad with absolute estimations, but we are very good with relative estimations. So you are going to attach some story points that yes, this particular time is going to take 2 story points. This is going to take 3 story points. This is going to take 6 story points. Okay. And then you'll pick everything. And then you'll see that in this particular sprint, we are going to totally deliver or maybe work on maybe 20, 30 story points. Okay. This is what you have done. And now what will happen? You will try to measure it. Okay. You will estimate that yes, maybe we will work on 20 story points, but eventually you are not able to deliver everything. Okay, you are only able to deliver some features where the total story points were 50. Okay, so now what we will do, this is the forecast and this is the real one. Okay, so you understand you are not able to deliver a couple of features out there. Okay, so now you will learn from this. You will reduce your expectation. You will put it to 15. Now you will see that team has performed really well. So you are learning from the same. Now you will increase your expectation. Now the team performance has gone down. Now eventually after you run enough sprints, you will understand what is the average number of stories that your team can go ahead and perform. That is how you will get good with your estimation abilities out there. A quick yes or no, everyone, if you are able to understand what story points are and how they can help you out in estimation. Yeah, tell me on a scale of 1 to 5 if you are able to understand this whole story of estimation, how everything is brought into the picture. Right. So understand, take it as a problem solving ability. Okay. There are no right answers. It cannot be that you give me a feature and I can tell you that this is the time it is going to take. Even engineers cannot do the same. So you have to work on past data, your own cognitive abilities, your own stakeholder management abilities in order to get about that. Right. So there is no magical answer for what is the time that is going to take and this is the time it is going to take. Even the engineers who are working on the same, they do not know it. Okay. Shavik, you have a question. Please go ahead.
Yes. So my question is, while we are doing the story point, now a story might be easy for someone, might be difficult for someone else, right? So how do you judge the story points? Like, is it relative estimation based on the person who is taking up the story, or yes, generalized?
It is basically depend on the team. Okay, so you cannot go ahead and talk about the individuals out there, but you will take team as general. Okay, and mostly agile teams are very small. They are about 5 to 8 people only. So mostly the estimations are going to be correct from their own understanding.
No, because suppose someone new joins, he does not have the domain knowledge. So there is a learning curve attached to that, right?
Yes, yes, correct.
So for him, the story point needs to be higher, or it should be what is the company-wide average?
Yes, that's correct. So there is no company-wide average. What happens is that the engineering manager or the CTO who has hired that person, they are going to tell you that, boss, this person is new. Whatever work that you are giving them, make sure that you are reducing the story points. Okay, so that context has to understand. People are not robots. You cannot go ahead and maybe tell them that, yes, this is the work that you have done. Everyone has worked in the same sprint. You should also work in the same. They would have certain other kind of qualities. Okay. So initially, whoever the person who is hiring it during their onboarding, they are going to tell you that this is the new person that is being added. Then they will go ahead and work on the same. So the context has to be there. People are not like machine that every time they are going to go ahead and every person is going to evolve the same kind of story. I hope that answers your question, Souvik.
Yep.
Yes. Abhishek, you have a question?
Yes. So this question was asked to me in one of the interview, and the 4 points that you explained that you can help me in that. So if you want to say, you are getting some pressure from the higher management that you have to ship a product in 3 days or 4 days, but what the developers are saying that they need at least 7 days to do this. Means there is a mismatch between the demand and what demand others are putting or the customers are putting and what developers are saying. Then how is a product manager going to solve this?
Correct. That's a very good question. Okay, and understand that is a very common situation that you are going to come across, not only in your real life, but also in the interviews. Okay, and understand here the first answer is to go ahead and jump to the solution. That no, I'll go ahead and try to convince my development team, or I'll try to convince my people out there. No, you don't have to do that. You as a product manager have to understand the situation. What is the situation? Okay, what is the feature that management is talking about? You have to understand the impact of that feature first. Okay, if that feature is important, for example, if they say that we have to build this functionality, try to understand what is the problem that this functionality is going to solve. Okay, is that problem important? Are other people also facing this kind of problem? If we go ahead and build on this problem, it is going to be impactful for us in the long time or not. Okay, then you move from a project manager angle to the product manager angle. Okay, and then you go ahead, if you think that yes, it is going to be important, then you convince your developers that yes, boss, although we have these kind of things, but we are going to shuffle our roadmap. This is more important for us, so we should go ahead and do the same. Okay, similarly, if it is not, then you'll try to convince your management that boss, we are doing this, I can go ahead and do whatever you want, but this is going to be the repercussion that right now we are doing this and this is going to hamper that particular part. So go to the problem behind the solution, understand if this problem is important enough, then put it together in your roadmap by convincing the people out there. That has to be the good question, rather than just convincing people straight away without understanding the feature. Does that answer the question, Abhishek?
Yeah, it was really nice thing that we can, kind of change our roadmap and incorporate new things. And other things can take a back seat. And...
Correct. Right. So yes, Dhiren, you have a question?
Yes, Ankit, just for some more clarity. So these story points are basically the effort level that the developers tell. And this 2, 4, 3, 6, is it tied down to the number of hours that it takes?
No. It eventually you can come. Okay, so when you are starting a sprint, you are a new person in the sprint and everything is getting started. Okay, you will just go ahead and estimate the relative difficulty. Okay, relative time it is going to take. But eventually, when you go ahead and run the sprint, what you can do is maybe you can say that maybe we are running like a sprint for 2 weeks, which is around 10 days. If I consider Saturday and Sundays as off, so there is 10 days. In every day, we are going to work 8 hours and there are 4 developers. So you can do that calculation and then you will divide them by the story points that on an average your team is going to dedicate. Okay, then you will get that R value. But initially, people do not start from that R value. They are just going to start from the relative estimation of stories.
So this is more like how we would do a RICE score and
yes. This is the relative process.
Low, medium, high, low, medium, high.
Correct. So understand that if a team says that there are 2 teams in a different kind of companies. If someone says that we have 100 story points we are able to deliver, and someone says that we are only able to deliver 10, that does not mean anything. You will not be able to compare because their context could be different and everyone else's context could be different.
Right. And one more question is, so if we look at this, say this is one sprint where they have 4 tasks to complete. And is it basis that, these 4 tasks that they decide what is going to be a 2, 4, 3, or is it just as a standalone that, HTML in general is a 2 effort story point?
No, these are related. For example, it could be possible that before you go ahead and do the integration with sign up, you'll have to create the HTML form. Okay, that is decided and that will depend on the context and decided by the engineer during the sprint.
Right. So I'll probably frame my question better. So maybe it's like, okay, I've done 2 sprints and I've realized on an average, we are able to pull off about 30 story points. So then we give them these priorities and they kind of give the story points to these. And
yes,
that needs to add up to somewhat around 30 to make sure that we're able to pull off the same thing or maybe a little more. Is that right?
Right. That is complete correct understanding. Understand, estimation happens at 2 levels. Okay, whenever you are deciding the product backlog, there has to be some kind of estimation. Otherwise, if you take a feature, for example, before 2022, September 2022, no one was taking artificial intelligence as a feature because it is going to, although the idea could be good, but no one can go ahead and like develop these kind of product because the ability was not there. Okay. So one kind of recommendation from engineer is going to happen when you are slacking the product backlog, while the detailing is going to happen over here. So two bases, you are at two places you are going to determine the efforts.
Okay.
Yes. Shobik, you have something to add?
Yeah. So since we are talking about interviews, one question I would like to ask you is that I was checking out few interview questions, and a common question I came across was that if the hiring manager asks that we are delayed on the project, right, and we have a session, a delivery to be shown to the external stakeholder. So how exactly should we manage that since we are already delayed on the project?
Cool. So Shobik, I can cover it. Like that is the question that will require like some kind of detailed explanation out there because we have to break down the problem, understand the concept, ask clarification question in order to come there. Maybe we can cover in one of the Q&A sessions out there.
Okay, fine.
Sure?
Fine.
So yeah, cool. So yeah, so there are two things. So understand, you do not only decide about the story points. Okay, story point is the effort. You also have to make sure that you are delivering the value to the users, right? Because in the end, you are creating the product not because you just want to save the time for the users or save the time for the engineers or put your engineers as productive as possible. You also want to make sure that whatever you are delivering, it is actually bringing the user value and the business value as well. Okay, so there is also one point. There are two dimensions to a story. One dimension is the effort, which is the negative dimension, effort dimension. And second is the positive dimension, which is the impact. How much you think if we ship this feature, it is going to help the users out there. Okay. So the impact part is going to come from the product manager or the business team or the business analyst or the product owner, while the story points are going to come from the developers. This is the cost and this is the benefit. Okay. And then you can also prioritize your story based on the same, but understand most of the time, since the work is a bit technical, it might be possible that something which is at the second, third priority, it can also be taken at the top because there are dependencies on certain kind of things. Okay. So one thing, whenever you decide any product, you decide any feature, you have to think it from two angles. First part is the effort. Second part is the impact of the same. Impact comes from the product manager, product owner, or maybe your business team out there, while the effort comes from the engineers.
Ankit, I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead, Palash.
When you said we'll have to evaluate the value points of the particular sprint, right? So there might be case that we are picking up technical data items, right? How would you evaluate its impact to the users? It's basically tech data item that we are picking. It has no absolute impact on the current users, right? Just improving the current system. So how would we evaluate the impact?
Yeah. So that is why I'm saying that the value is from two angles. One is the business angle, and second is going to be the user angle. Okay, so if you cannot think right now what could be the user angle, you can understand the business angle as well. That yes, if we go ahead and do this at this period of time, in the long run, we are going to improve the productivity of the developer, and that is going to help the company, and eventually it is going to help the users. And also understand all of these are comparative things. Nothing is absolute in this case.
So basically, it can be both qualitative and quantitative.
Yes. Correct. Most of these times are going to be qualitative unless you have like a very mature product where data is available.
Yep. Got it. Thanks.
Yes. Yeah, Badar, you have a question?
Yes. It relates to the impact aspect of the product. So as you mentioned, Ankit, this is to be determined by the product manager. However, is it completely subjective, or because I know this is a different tangent, which is product management. I've started reading Martin Kagan's book, Inspired. But can you just give me a brief about how we can pinpoint a number on that today with my team?
Yes, I'll give you like one minute like answer on the same, and then I'll attach few of the resources that you can deep down on it further. Understand, impact could be determined numerically as well. In comparison, it could be determined numerically. For example, if you are creating a feature that is going to affect your onboarding, okay, while you are creating a feature that is going to affect maybe a small feature that is at a particular place in your product. Okay, here the feature that we are talking about is about HTML form for going ahead and making the user to sign up. We are talking about other sign up options. Okay, so these are the places where people are going to be exposed in front. So you have to understand what are the total number of people who are going to do onboarding in a day. That is the number that you have. So if you improve your onboarding, that is the improvement that you can get. So you can quantify that impact. While if you're talking about a feature that is that is only available for the few users. If you are implementing that feature, optimizing that feature, maybe that is not so important. So you can, yes, if you do the enough, if you put your enough mind to it enough for enough period of time, you'll be able to come up with a particular kind of comparative number out there. So it's possible. I'll also go ahead and attach like few kind of readings for you in the LMS so that you can read about this in a bit more detail. Cool. So yeah, so I think we are done till here. This should help you with estimation. But just one point that I want to make it clear in front of everyone is that estimation is as much as an art as it is a science. Your stakeholder management capabilities will tell you about estimation. Okay, you go ahead, you learn from people, you put the people on the same page then you do the estimation. Estimation is not something that anyone can tell you that yes, this is the time that it's going to take. Even your developers, even when they are going ahead and telling you the time, they are also putting some kind of buffer so that they are not caught when things are not being developed. And then understand when they go ahead and give you the timeline, they are going to assume that they are going to be super productive, and then they are going to put a buffer over there. Okay, while in reality, they are going to be lazy, and then the buffer is going to get missed. Okay, so you should be aware about all of these things. Okay, then now the next part, which is working with developers. Understand it's important for you as a non-tech person to understand how to work with developers. In the end, these are also people. If you know how to go ahead and understand the incentives of people, if you know what the people like, you should be able to work with them. Okay, there are few policies that there are few like anecdotes or few like pointers from the psychology which you need to understand. The first part is that everyone wants to create an impact. That is the first part. Okay. Second part is everyone is lazy. That is something that you should take without any kind of assumptions out there. Okay. If given a chance, if people do not feel inspired about something, their default mode is going to be lazy. Okay. And also understand, you have to understand everyone's incentive. Then only you can go ahead and work with them at the right kind of pace. Okay. And these are the few tools that are going to come from these particular three things. First is bring data, research, and logic. The people that you are going to work with, developers, these are mostly practical people. Okay, whenever you are coming up with any kind of feature, idea, if you want to push something, if you want to make sure that something is getting done on time, you have to make sure that you are bringing the data, research, and logic. Whatever user research that you have done in the planning phase and the definition phase, bring that on the page so that they understand why they are working on something. Okay, if you only say that, no, I think this is the reason, I have my own assumption is the reason why we should go ahead and work on the feature, this is not going to be a good move for you. A big problem that you're going to face as a business analyst, product manager, product owner is that people do not report to you. As an engineer, they are reporting to the CTO or the tech lead out there. So maybe you do not have much say in what they are going to do. Okay, you are not going to set their task list. So you have to make sure that you are able to influence them rather than having the authority over them, because you do not have authority. So make sure that you are bringing data, research, and logic to the picture. Whatever research you have done, make sure that it is in a digestible format. If you have done the user research, show them the user persona. If you have done like the user journey mapping, you have understood the gap analysis, show them like what is the competitive research that you have done. Show them the user journey maps. Okay, so that they understand that yes, enough work has been done and this person is not telling anything on the assumption. They have brought the certain kind of hard work over there. So that's the first part. Second part is show them the bigger picture and how their work contributes. Okay, that is also one mistake that people make. They only think that these people who are developers only want to write code. Understand everyone wants to make an impact. They don't want to feel that they are maybe a small gear in the whole big system, big things of system out there. Okay, big, like a big picture of things out there. Okay, you have to make sure that you are able to relate how their work contributes to the bigger goals of the company. Okay, show them the business perspective. If they are creating the like button for Facebook, show them how it helps the company make more money, how it helps the user to experience, like how it helps billions of people to go ahead and maybe showcase their feelings or explain themselves. Okay, so these are the second thing. Always make sure that you understand what is the impact of the feature and try to explain your developer the same so that they are feeling more motivated about their work. The third part is you are responsible for what and why, not how. This is also a mistake that people make, that people tend to, if people are, and this might not happen with you, but people who are coming from technical background, when they try to lead the developers as product managers, they tend to tell them exactly what they need to do. Don't do the same. You can tell them what they want to do, what they need to do. You can tell them why it is an important problem, but never tell them how, as in what is the kind of code that you should write, what should the functional structure be, all these kind of things. Okay, you understand this kind of thing, it's very good. You can ask them the question, but it is not your responsibility to get into the how. That is where the bridges are going to burn. Okay, then the fourth part is give them problems. So understand these people are problem solvers, and not only with these people, all of your stakeholders, you have to think that these are problem solvers and give them the problems. That boss, right now, the users are not signing up. Okay, what do you think would be the problems? Okay, then you will work together in order to find the solution out there. And it is a good idea to involve these people during the definition phase as well, or maybe sometimes in the planning phase as well. You do not need to involve every engineer out there, but at least involve the head of the engineering so that you are able to go ahead and have them on your side when you have to convince them. Okay, so give them the problem and understand when people think that it is their own idea to go ahead and solve the problem, it is going to help you out. Okay, so you'll mostly end up with a better solution and a committed developer because they think that now it is their own idea and everyone considers their own idea as their own baby. Okay, let people think that it is their own idea and then let them lead that particular idea. Okay, make sure that you're also like going ahead and putting the guardrails out there that if something is not going as per your expectation, you should be able to call it out. Okay, so give the responsibility and have right kind of guardrails so that you are able to measure and track the performance out. And then in the end, which is the most important question? Okay, even if you do not do all of these four parts, fifth part is something that you should not miss. Okay, most of the time, engineers tend to respect people who are coming from a technical background. And there are people in your team who are they going to respect the most, which is the engineering managers, tech leads, CTOs out there. Make sure that you are having good relationship with them. You are the representative of the business or the user, while they are the representative of the engineering team. If you coordinate well with them, they are going to help you get the work done very, very quickly. Okay, so it's very important for you to go well with the engineering leads and engineering managers. Okay, quickly tell me everyone, on a scale of 1 to 5, you're able to understand what are the best practices to work with developers. Okay, so how many of you here have actually worked with developers in the past? Yeah, so Rashmi, you want to share something like have any of these things worked with you? Any anecdotes that you can share?
Right. So fun fact, I was a developer for 4 years and now I'm a PM. So now I work with engineering managers and engineers, and it's a funny thing because I used to be there 4 years back. So I know what worked for us as a team, like the dev team. And then I try to talk to them in similar tone, you know, just use tech jargons, not so much wordy PRDs that I can share, just like bullet points. And the developers are people of not much words, right? So they will barely tell you if things are going wrong. So communicating was very difficult. So these are
so you come from that particular empathy, right?
Sorry?
You are already in that phase, so you have that kind of empathy.
Right, yes.
Yeah, so I think this is good. Dhiren, you want to talk about this?
Yes, Ankit. So I basically worked with an outsourced development team on one of my entrepreneurship projects. I think what worked was obviously we needed someone who can not only develop but also give us that support because we were all first-time entrepreneurs, and showing them what we wanted and kind of telling them, you know, we've done this research, but we also need some ideas on how to better build this. And that kind of helped us, you know, build quicker products, I would say, like quicker features, and get them out sooner than what we thought.
Correct. So I think the logic here is that don't be like a know-it-all person. Okay, you should make sure that you are also throwing problems at people, understanding their perspective, and in the end, the key is very simple. Think that other person is also like a person out there, and they would be having their own kind of context and all. You have to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Yes, Akhila, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think the one point of conflict, I'm sorry, I don't know if you'd already covered this, but I had worked in some of the freelance setups where, let's say there is a product manager, there's a design, and then there is engineering, and the PM is expected to sort of tie everything together, right? So a lot of times it's like engineers would, I mean, I wouldn't, dilly-dally is probably a crude word, but there is a bit of dilly-dally when it comes to timelines, right? Like when it, and this was a setup where they did not have agile. So let's say the sprint planning, etc., was not happening. There's a set of requirements given, and engineers are supposed to come up with timelines. So in that case, let's say I am answerable to, let's say, everybody else in the org about timelines, but I at least of the opinion that I will never commit timelines unless the engineering team has given me one, because I would not be an authority about the how, like you said. So this was like a point of conflict. Sometimes the engineering would perpetually say the requirement is not clear, we haven't got the design changed. So any cues on like how do you handle these situations? Because when everything is going great, I think it's all good, but these kind of situations.
Yes, correct. So understand here, although you do not are in control of going ahead and solving all of these problems out there, it is also not possible for you as a human to go ahead and solve other human problems. So that is difficult. But maybe some clues I can share with you. First of all, get some kind of process. Maybe get Kanban, get a sprint or something, so that even if mistakes are happening, you should be able to pinpoint that this is the reason why it is happening. If someone says that no, I was not able to understand the requirements are all vague, and I was not able to work on the same. Okay, rather than them telling them at the end of the sprint, rather than telling them at the end of the timeline, if sprint planning was happening correctly, they would have told them at that period of time only. That is the first part, so that you can catch where the mistake is happening. Is it at your end? Is it their own understanding end? Or maybe there is some kind of miscommunication out there. Similarly, if issues happens at maybe estimation out there. Okay, when you are attaching the story points, maybe in the next sprint you can ask that maybe last time we have told this, but you are not able to develop this. Are you sure you want to put these kind of story points, or you want to increase them? Okay, so if you put a process at place, not that it's going to solve all the problems, you will understand the problem. That the problem is with the estimation, lack of experience, intent, lack of clarity. These are 4 or 5 pointers out there that you should be taking care of.
Got it.
I hope that answers the question, Akhila.
Yeah.
Yes. So the answer for most of these questions is take a step back. Okay. Understand, before solving these problems, you have to understand the problem. These are what we are talking about, that timelines are getting missed or the product is not in the correct shape. That is not a problem. That is actually a symptom of the problem. The problem is when you dig down into the symptom, that why it is happening. You are not able to ship on time. Why you are not able to ship on time? The developer was absent? No, he was present. He was working all day along, and he was also billing for his hours out there. He has also even worked overtime. So why it is not happening? Okay, so maybe was the sprint planning not done correctly, the estimation not done correctly, the clarity was not given to the developer, so that you can go ahead and come across that yes, this is the problem. Now we should go ahead and do these kind of solutions in order to solve this problem.
Got it. Maybe just like one last thing. So whenever you typically in smaller startups, especially, there is always a lot of ad hoc things that they work on, right? Even if there is a sprint. So they have like their own version of agile, like they call it agile, but they sometimes they change the items after the sprint has started as well. So typically the bug fixes, or let's say the production issues, right? The developers get pulled into this a lot because it's not like the code base is very stable. Right. So how do you usually plan for bug fixes? Let's say what is the one that typically works for you?
Yes. So what happens, and that's a very common question, that we are working in a sprint and some kind of bug has came, some kind of tech debt we have to clear. What we should do? Okay, should we go ahead and change the sprint? Should we stop the sprint? What is it that we should to say no to these kind of bug fixes, even if they are critical? So the answer is, in every sprint, as you'll understand your company, that people are pushing you bugs even after the release has been done. You should make sure that after every important release, you are putting some kind of story points dedicated for bug fixes. That yes, we have not decided what we are going to do, but we understand that some bugs are going to come, so that we are able to dedicate these hours. We have reserved these particular kind of story points for the bug fixes only. Okay, if a release has just happened, then there has to be more bug fixes on the corresponding sprints out there. But there is no important release, then you can reduce this number of bug fixes, because after a release there tend to be more bug fixes rather than in a normal time. So you should dedicate some slots of story points in every sprint to make sure that you are accounting for some non-planned work.
Got it.
Cool. So yes. So now we'll talk about the most important part of this particular R, which is the EM and PM relationship. How do you make sure that the EM and PM relationship is working well there? EM is the engineering manager. PM could be the business analyst, product manager, product owner out there. They were initially created for the PM, so that is the PM is over there. So 3 things. First is you have to understand that there is a mutual trust. Both of them have trust that they are going to work for the betterment of the company, for the betterment of the user, and they also have trust in their own capabilities and the other person's capabilities. That is why most of the time you are going to see that if you are working if you are being interviewed as a product manager, some engineering people are also going to go ahead and take that interview so that they understand your capability. And similarly, if you are being hired as a product manager, as an engineering person out there, then maybe some or the other person from the product team might also interview you. Okay, so that happens over there. So the mutual trust has to happen. First thing, everyone should trust each other. Otherwise, things are not going to work. This is like the foundation of everything. Second thing is a joint accountability. Both of you are accountable to make sure the product goes forward. Whatever is the important metric for your product or the business, you both are accountable for the same. You cannot play the blame game afterward that no, it has happened because this person has not done the work. Okay. And eventually, the last part, which is most important, the separate ownership. Understand, you have ownership of a particular thing. They have ownership of a particular thing. The most easiest way to fail at any group project is to make sure that you give one task to two people or more than two people. Then you are assured that that task is never going to happen. Someone will think that one person will think that other person will do the task, and other will think that first person is going to do the task. Okay, so as a manager of the company, as a CEO, or maybe as a person who is working towards with these kind of people, or maybe as a EM or PM yourself, you have to make sure that you clearly define what are the separate ownerships of the same. Okay, of both the people out there. Okay, so although mutual trust and joint accountability are very important, very easy to understand, separate ownership needs a dedicated slide. Okay, so how do you understand what is it that should be given to the product manager? What is it that should be given to the engineering counter? Okay, so there are 5 things that you have to do as a product manager, or as like a collective team of product manager and the engineering manager, also known as the product team. So here there are 5 parts. First is why you are building that particular feature, how that feature aligns to the user problem, how that feature aligns to the business outcome. That has to come from the product manager. That is the first part. Second part is what is the feature that we'll try to create. So the PM will talk with the user research team. They will do the market research. They will talk with the design team in order to create the test. This is what we need to develop. This is also with the PM. Now comes the territory of engineering manager. Okay, you have given us the design. You have given us the wireframes, how we are going to do it, which is what is the technology that we will implement, what are the algorithms that we will implement, how is the system design going to look like, how it is going to, how it is going to integrate with other things. So all the engineering decisions are with the engineering manager. Okay, so I have written EM over there. When it is going to get done, as in what should be the timeline. I have told you that estimation always comes from the engineering team. And the last part is who is going to work on this particular feature from the engineering team. Okay, can anyone tell me why the who part should be with the engineering manager and not with the product manager? Can anyone tell me who part, like which developer should work on a particular feature? It should be with the engineering manager, not the product manager.
Because engineering manager has a better idea of the capabilities of the engineer.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. That's correct. So they have a better idea of capability, and also understand most of the engineers would be directly reporting to the engineering manager, right? So he might be knowing, he might be conducting many, or he or she might be conducting many one-on-one calls with these people every week or every couple of weeks. They are the managers, right? So they are also responsible for their personal growth, like the growth of their team. So they know what are the projects that they would want to work, what they would aspire for. Because understand, there could be like good kind of engineers, but maybe some people are bored by some kind of solutions. Okay, so you have to also put that human perspective at place. Okay, and that perspective can only come from someone who's having like actively one-on-one calls with their people out there. Okay, so engineering manager has a better idea. So they are going to decide who should work on a particular feature because they know the capability, they know the aspiration, they know the personal roadmap of these people out there. Okay, and that is how they can also keep them motivated to be in the company and generate value for the longer period of time. Okay, so these are the 5 parts. Now I'll give you an example. Okay, so for example, how in a real scenario it is going to look like. So for example, Slack has thought that they are going to create an integrations marketplace. Okay, Slack already has an integration marketplace. How would they have taken a decision? How would they have divided the decision across these questions between the engineering and the PM out there? What is the integration marketplace? If you go ahead and go to Slack integration marketplace, so this is what a Slack integration marketplace looks like. Okay, that there are so many apps that are available. Okay, this is also known as Slack app directory, where anyone can go ahead, they can use the Slack API and then create any application that is going to work very good with Slack. Okay, that is the use case out there. And now, how we are going to decide how these responsibilities are going to get divided and who is responsible for what? Who is going to be the ownership of taking the ownership of what in the engineering and the PM context out there. So why are we going to do this feature? Why at all we have to create the integrations marketplace? Okay, this has to be designed by the PM, and this could be that the company has now acquired enough kind of users. We need to focus on retention rather than only focusing on person-to-person communication with the company. We should also talk about person-to-app communication. Many people are also rather than only interacting with the people in their company and other companies, they're also interacting with a lot of products such as Gmail, their CRM tools, and so many other tools out there, GitHub and all. Okay, so they understood that yes, if we want to make sure that Slack becomes one point of communication, we need to solve for retention, so that and for that we need to integrate these people out there. Okay, so this will be set by the product manager by doing enough user market research and understanding enough data that yes, company should focus on retention. They should add more use case for existing people. Second is what? Integration marketplace. Now they have gone ahead and done some kind of analysis, look at the competitors, look at analogies, and understand how other platforms have increased their retention out there. And they came across the idea that integration marketplace where they can add any Slack extension out there. Okay, so they will go ahead, pick up this idea. Okay, they would have gone through some other ideas before that as well. This is what they have fixated on their based on their own research and analysis. Now they will create a PRD over it. Okay, this is where the product manager is going to come in both of these scenarios. Now, which technology are we going to use? What is the system architecture? What are the non-functional requirements? These has to be decided by, these had to be owned by the engineering manager. Your product manager, as a product manager, you can contribute. You can maybe suggest your ways that yes, I have seen that Amazon Web Services is doing the same. This is how they have created it. Okay, so this is, you can maybe consider. So the engineering manager can consider your ideas, but in the end, the ownership is with them. Okay, then when can we ship the feature? When should we go with the MVP first? Okay, or whatever are these kind of things, these are going to be decided by the engineering manager. And then what is the time? If it's the big feature, then should we ship the MVP? And also maybe you will give the definition to MVP that they are going to decide, but eventually the engineering manager are going to decide what they have to go with the same, because they are the person who are working on the same. All the timelines are estimated by them. You can recommend that, boss, right now customer retention is important for us, so we should work faster on the same. So they will ask you to now shuffle the roadmap. Similarly, which engineers are going to work upon this? This is also going to be decided by the engineering manager. Maybe they will see that this is like a very aspirational product. There are some rockstar engineers who would want to work on the same. So they will put those engineers from there to there. So this is what happens when you go ahead and build like a good relationship with the relationship between the engineering and the product manager out there. Understand? In this course, you can understand all the things about technology. Okay, but technology is very vast. It is better to go ahead and take some kind of shortcuts and have your good relationship with engineering manager rather than just going ahead and deep into every of the topics out there. Okay, so this particular guide should help you out in order to collaborate well, not only with engineering managers, but any kind of leaders out there. Make sure that you are separating that kind of ownership and you give the clarity on the same. Okay, as a PM, you can help EMs by building a compelling roadmap. Okay, make sure that you are building like a compelling roadmap so that they know where they can deploy their resources. Second is well-defined priorities. Give them a right priority. They should not be confused that we should do this or this. Their to-do list should be ready and very well, and there has to be a synthesis, or there has to be a reason for every priority. And then MVP definition for quick shipping. If sometime you feel that no, it is taking like a lot of time, you can help them by defining the MVP definition, that this is what the minimum viable product can look like. Okay, so this is going to be the context. Similarly, as an EM, you can help PMs by creating a if you are an engineering manager, which you are not, but I'll go ahead and anyways cover, which is if you are an engineering manager, or if you're talking to your engineering manager, make sure that you as a PM can tell them this particular thing. Okay, that boss, I am the product manager, you are the engineering manager, this is what I am expecting from you. Okay, so I'm expecting that you create a highly predictable development process. Okay, that we should be knowing that if this task is going and you have given less like a certain kind of timeline, that is going to be entertained. That is going to be fulfilled. Okay, similarly, drive technical vision and limit tech debt. Okay, make sure that teams is not taking so many short-term decisions out there. And then make sure the engineering team is connected to the bigger picture. Okay, you will explain the feature, explain the outcome, explain the why, what to the engineering manager, and this is their responsibility to keep people connected to the bigger picture out there. Okay, and with that, we are going to end the session. There are 3 readings that are for you, which you can go ahead and read in your own time. There are 3 readings that will help you understand how to interact with people, specifically engineers. Okay, some are generic, some are specific. So first is the manager's path. This is written from a technical perspective, but it will help you understand how to work with technical people. Second is how to win friends and influence people. This is also like a like an evergreen book, which you can understand in order to work not only with engineers, but maybe everyone in the world. Okay. And then there is a sprint, which is about how do companies can ship ideas very, very quickly by validating them as soon as possible. Okay, so this was it about today's session. Open for any question that you might have.
What is non-functional requirements? It is for the engineering manager and the product manager.
Yeah, so the actual decision is on the engineering manager, but you as a product manager can suggest that if I'm creating this feature, if it is for so many users, we should make sure that it is performance enough, it is scalable enough, and these kind of things. Any other question from anyone? If you guys have no questions, please write good night in the chat, and we are going to see each other day after on Friday, where we are going to discuss about Git and GitHub, and also we'll cover like complete that mobile part. Cool. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Take care. We'll see each other recently. I hope you learned something from today's session. Bye. Thank you.